adults. Here's a horrifying example of what adult means.
This is on this slide. This is a great representation of majority, license, age of consent, criminal responsibility. And in the United States, if you have special skills, and the court determines special skills to be, are you a hacker? Do you have a computer science degree? Do you work in IT? If you do, and you are found found guilty of a crime, they might actually elevate the sentencing because you have special skills. Likewise, even for minors in the United States under 18, if there are some serious computer crimes that they found that you committed, they can treat you as an adult and try you as an adult in the criminal system in the U.S.
So in some states, this means a kid who goes for a joyride in a car at age 7 is treated as an adult in the system. So I have a 7-year-old. I know the difference between a 7-year-old and a 21-year-old in terms of their ability to make decisions and think. My 7-year-old is awesome, but she's not an adult yet.
Sometimes the courts, if you're operating a machinery that is traditionally only for adults, such as a boat, a car, they might hold the minor to an adult standard.
So the other place where this concept of mature enough to make decisions or capable of thinking through the ramifications of a decision is when we look at legal cases involving mentally handicapped adults. Could a computer pass these sorts of tests? So this is where the judge would take the witness or the individual who's involved, take them aside and find out, do they understand the situation that they're in? Could we get a computer to pass these same tests? What happens when we put Eliza together with Rain Man? And are these cognitive agents your thoughts? Have you spun off a process? Did you just fork your brain? If you did, then isn't it the same as your brain? What happens when you can take memories out of your head and put them into devices?
We're not going to go as far as to say Johnny mnemonic so much in this presentation, but we are getting to a point where with prosthetic devices, memory and even vision can be put onto different computing devices that are external to your physical body.
So lots of you use the Twitter. I certainly use the Twitter. Does it mean that I'm establishing intent when I tell the world what I'm doing? We learned from a case yesterday with Johannes from Monochrome, you can't actually take back stuff that happened on the Twitter. And your cell phone provider will cheerfully turn over things to the government.
With a warrant.
I'm also one of those hipster types who loves the cloud computing thing because it is 2009. Next year, I don't know what I'm going to be into, but for now, it's the cloud. I put all of my information into Evernote, which sits on servers in the US because Evernote isn't big enough yet to take my Canadian data and put it on servers in the EU where it will be private. Who's really in charge of that information? This is what Tiffany was referring to with the idea of prosthetic memory. This is something from Microsoft Research. This is real. This has existed for a number of years. It's Microsoft Research, but Microsoft Research in the UK. And they've developed a prosthetic device that is used for Alzheimer's patients that helps them with recall. And there's published scholarly papers on this. It works. It does low-resolution still photos and audio recording until it detects that you're standing in front of someone. Then it switches to high-resolution video. So you can review your day, and in the same way that we all learned when we were studying, you can do better recall of what happened to you because you've had the opportunity to review. So, this is not science fiction of the future. This is productized.
Some people like Steve Mann in Canada have been doing this with recording everything that goes on during your day. I think it was the late 80s, early 90s. He used to carry around like a CRT, big one, and with a camera. And he recorded everything he saw, all the people he passed, license plates, everything in public. And there's an interesting case he did for a show on TV where his wife also wears a camera. And they walked into Walmart. And in Walmart, they have all these cameras that are filming you all the time. And I'm sure you have an equivalent of Walmart. If not, Walmart has invaded Europe already. But part of their business model is they record where you walk, what you look at, if you touch any items on the end cap, and they use that for stalking They claim they only use that for marketing purposes for which products are more successful than others. So when you walk into Walmart, you are implicitly giving your permission to be recorded. Also in the parking lots, they have a little sign up that says, you are being recorded. So Steve Mann walked in with his wife recording, and they said, you got to shut your cameras off. And he said, but wait, you're recording me. So how is that you can do this and I can't? Well, the way it works is he was on the property of Walmart. He'd given them their permission to record him. He was actually physically kicked out by security.
So these are all cases where we've willingly made the decision to put the information out there. I put all this stuff into my phone so that I don't have to remember it. There are cases where it's non-optional to put that information out there. Medical prosthetics are not dumb. They are now logging devices. I mean, you think about, it's probably 10, 11 euro for 8 gigs of micro SD. That is a lot of memory storage, right?
A lot of these medical devices are for a convenience for the patient, have internet access, like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. They're transmitting information. Either when you walk into a doctor's office, they have kind of like a beam you walk through. I know there's some insulin pumps for diabetics that'll automatically upload your information without you having to press any buttons. Their doctor will have it on their computers. These are types of things where if, for instance, there are some people who have been accused of crimes and are on probation in the U.S., they have to wear a device that can determine if they have any alcohol or drugs in their system if they're on probation. And these are devices that are remotely accessible. The difference is with that is as convicted of crimes, they've given up some of their rights. Whereas it's interesting to think about with these devices, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I want to see what's on your insulin pump, what your blood sugar level is, that's where if you say, sure, here it is, law enforcement, they pretty much negated the need for a warrant if you just hand it over. And a lot of people don't know with these medical devices, they still do need a warrant to be able to access the information that's on these devices that control a lot of your health and personally identifying information.
So imagine that yesterday afternoon at 5 o'clock, someone passed away. And that person was fitted with an implantable automatic defibrillator. And the logs suggest that their heart simply stopped beating. Your pacemaker is subpoenaed because you were seen near that person. And it's discovered that your heart was racing just prior to that 5 o'clock moment when that person ceased to exist. How much longer is it before we voluntarily or involuntarily end up with this sort of medical logging? I mean, that's a really easy way to put together the case. He died at 5 o'clock. Just before 5 o'clock, your heart was racing. Somebody saw the two of you together. Or maybe they saw you on a CCTV camera.
My family does a lot with security, like electronic security systems in government buildings, things like that. And this is something that is really interesting to me that I found. It's called FAST, and it's a pre-crime detector. Right now, it is the size of a trailer. And about 6 months ago, the company making this paid 200 people to think really angry thoughts, like to get really mad, and to walk through this and to see if this camera could pick up information about them. What this camera looks at is pupil dilation, contraction, heart rate, if you're sweating, and also pheromone response. And that was quite interesting to me because some of these things are getting, if you were to want to fake it to get through security, that kind of stuff is really hard. There will always be people who will beat any type of security. It can happen, but it's going to take a lot more training. On the Homeland, this is a picture of on the bottom left there. That's what the more mobile camera is going to look like, and they're thinking of rolling this out and putting it in airports next year in the United States. So the idea is, when you're in public, are you giving permission to have to be recorded? And we talk about, I mentioned Walmart with CCTV. Yes, you are in that respect. If you walk into a casino in Las Vegas, you are giving permission to be recorded and watched. They do facial geometry scanning, and it doesn't work very well, especially if you wear dark glasses, but they still do this and run it